him ripping open the door, do you guys want to press charges for that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
He came in here yelling at her.
Yeah, trying to find her. Like she had to hide in the back room. It's all on camera.
Oh, she hid from him?
Yeah, she hid from him.
She's scared because he does very well. Like he knows everything.
So, what up, bro? What's your problem? Come over here.
You can't arrest me because I didn't do anything. You get what I'm saying? But anyways, bro, people got my money, bro. Then signed it to my phone. Then use my money. You feel me? It's supposed to have been the girlfriend or whatever. You feel me? I ain't put my hands on nobody. Nothing. You get what I'm saying?
I hear you.
But
Let's stand over here because I don't like cars behind me. Over here in the front. I don't like cars behind me.
She got my money, dog, and she sent my money to her. You get what I'm saying?
The girl inside?
Yeah, the girl I with sent my money to her, bro, for protection. But I ain't no. So protect what?
Do you know who that? Do you know who that girl is?
Okay, you got me on video.
Bro,
what?
Who's the girl inside to you? Do you know her at all?
Yeah, I know her.
Who is she?
She a friend.
Okay, she a friend. You sent her money?
No, I didn't send her money. They sent me money, and she took my money and sent it to somebody else.
How did they send you money? Via like Cash App or something like that?
Yeah.
How was she able to use it?
She went and got on my, look. Cash App sign-in code at 2:59. You get what I'm saying? She went and did that 2:59, signed in, and then sent $20 at 3:04 to this girl in here. So that's why I'm snapping like that, because I need my money.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Who is that to you?
That's my friend.
Friend?
Yeah.
Okay. What's up with the money? What money you talking about?
She sent it over to this girl Jersey that's there. So when I was sleeping, you get what I'm saying? And when I seen it on my Cash App, it had signed in, or
you say your friend.
That's what I had said. You get what I'm saying?
Are y'all staying in the same room?
Yeah, we be helping each other out.
Help each other out?
Yeah.
Do y'all like intimate, like sexing, stuff like that?
Man, here and there, not really. Like, I be straight on.
When was
that
the last
stuff.
time you guys slept with each other?
Oh, that's.
Like, is it like is it like a casual thing? Do me a favor. Put your hands behind your back.
What I'm going to do.
What you are watching is not a simple disturbance call. It is the activation of one of Florida's most consequential statutory mandates in criminal law. Under Florida Statute Section 741.2901, when law enforcement has probable cause to believe domestic violence has occurred, the officer shall arrest the dominant physical aggressor. Not may, not should, shall. Arrest is legally compelled. Discretion is removed. The legislature designed this statute to eliminate a specific failure mode. Victims pressured not to cooperate, officers pressured not to arrest. By removing officer discretion entirely, Florida shifted the legal burden away from the victim and placed it squarely on the state. Before that statute activates, one threshold question must be answered. Does a domestic relationship exist between the suspect and the victim? Florida defines a domestic relationship broadly: current or former spouses, people related by blood, and critically, persons who currently reside together. The officer probed this directly. The suspect confirmed it on his own statement: shared housing, shared finances, intermittent sexual contact, domestic relationship, established by the suspect's own words. That single confirmation locked in the mandatory arrest standard for everything that followed. The battery itself is analyzed under Florida Statute, Section 784.0-3. Battery requires intentional touching against the will of another or intentionally causing bodily harm. Multiple independent witnesses observed the suspect strike the victim in the head multiple times and push her in the face. Corroboration from 3 separate sources, bystanders, Waffle House employees, and the victim herself, place probable cause well above the constitutional threshold. Under Illinois v. Gates, 462 U.S. 213, probable cause is evaluated under a totality of the circumstances standard. No single piece of evidence is required to stand alone. Here, 3 independent corroborating sources produced overwhelming probable cause for a warrantless arrest. The warrantless arrest itself is constitutionally sound under United States v. Watson, 423 U.S. 411. A public arrest supported by probable cause requires no warrant. The initial contact with the suspect was a consensual, voluntary encounter under Florida v. Bostick, 501 U.S. 429. No detention had occurred, no commands were issued. The suspect was free to leave and chose instead to provide a self-incriminating narrative without prompting. Because no custodial interrogation occurred at that stage, Miranda protections under 484 U.S. 436 had not yet attached. Every statement the suspect made during that voluntary contact phase is fully admissible. His own words built the probable cause record against him.
Can you just say?
Called up.
So what I'm gonna jump for? Domestic battery. How is it domestic battery and I ain't put my hands on nobody?
He came in here yelling on her.
Yeah, trying to find her. Like she had to hide in the bathroom. It's all on camera.
Oh, she hid from him?
Yeah, she hid from him in the
He locked
bathroom.
his door and
Can
he
you
came
check
in,
with
he
her?
opened up
They're
the
saying
door.
he snatched the wallet from her hand.
We locked his door and he came and he opened
There's a
it.
camera right there. If y'all wanted to.
Oh yeah. Hold the door.
Yeah, when they tried to lock the door, like they were trying to close the locket so she could hide in the bathroom before she got. He pushed it in their face and came in anyways.
Him hitting her across the street?
Yes.
How would you describe, like, was it a punch, a slap?
It was kind of like they were arguing. He was in her face, and like I think he tried to take something from her, and he like pushed her,
Okay.
and then pushed her in the face. Yeah, smushed her like that.
Do you have your ID on you, man?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Do you want to fill out a sworn statement?
Mm-hmm.
You do? Okay.
I do.
Why he's injured and he got a stretcher coming for him now?
When someone asks for an ambulance, we have
Yeah,
to
they have to give it. Same thing with like a supervisor. They ask for super.
Do you want to write a sworn statement? You want to write a statement?
No, I can't even wait. Yeah, so thank you.
Would you like the fire department to check you out? So it initially started where they came here.
That's awesome.
They got.
If it all was in one incident, then you can just roll with it. Okay.
So they started in here. They kicked them out. They went across the street. They were watching because of how irate they were in here, and that's when they witnessed the guy over there strike her multiple times in the head and push her.
Okay.
Then she ran over here, came inside, and they locked it to not let him in.
Okay.
And then he ripped open the door, goes in, grabs the bag. She now grabs the bag to prevent him. He rips it, and then that's all I can see on camera.
A second criminal act runs parallel to the domestic battery, criminal trespass under Florida Statute Section 8 to 10.0 Trespass in a structure occurs when a person enters without authorization. The Waffle House locked its doors. Management explicitly denied the suspect entry. He forced the door open regardless. Authorization was not merely absent, it was actively, physically revoked. This satisfies the statute on its face. If the forced entry caused damage to the door mechanism, the charge could be elevated to criminal mischief under Florida Statute Section 806.1-3, or potentially burglary of a structure with assault or battery. Under Florida Statute Section 8 to 10.0-2, given that a battery had already occurred in the sequence of events, the officer correctly identified a third independent criminal act, robbery by sudden snatching under Florida Statute, Section 812.131. This statute requires a taking of property carried on the victim's person during which the offender causes injury or places the victim in fear. The suspect issued an explicit verbal threat simultaneously with the taking of the wallet. Both the physical and fear elements of the statute are facially satisfied. The victim declined to press charges at the scene. That is her legal right. Unlike domestic battery, robbery prosecution typically requires victim cooperation. The officer's response was procedurally correct. Document the elements in the report. Inform the victim she may contact the state attorney independently. That approach preserves the charging option without placing coercive pressure on a victim who is already in a fear-based decision-making state. Force used during the arrest is evaluated under Graham v. Connor, 489 U.S. 386. Objective reasonableness from the perspective of a reasonable officer on the scene. The suspect offered verbal resistance only. No physical aggression was directed at officers. A compliance hold and standard handcuffing was the appropriate and proportionate response. The suspect's request for medical evaluation was honored. Under department policy, when a person in custody requests an ambulance, it must be provided. Denying that request could expose the department to liability under the 8th Amendment and 14th Amendment substantive due process protections for detainees.
So they locked the door?
Yeah, but they're saying they don't know if there's damage yet.
So that at the time, they were not allowing any guests to enter whatsoever.
So it's still 21.
There might be 21 there. Because they locked the doors and closed it.
I'll ask them if they want to press charges. Yeah.
So they're taking Hamburg for
Hey, miss, I got a quick question for you. So you guys locked the door, and you pretty much did not want him inside this property, correct? Because you guys locked it, and you did not want him in your property, obviously for the safety of your customers and her and you guys. Him ripping open the door, do you guys want to press charges for that?
Absolutely.
Okay. Can I get your ID and write a sworn and save it for me?
I'm scared to go to my car at this point.
Where's your car? He's in handcuffs in the ambulance, so he ain't coming out. She going?
Yeah.
Okay. Did the officers give you a case number yet?
No.
Do you want to fill out any domestic violence paperwork?
No. Thanks.
Do you want to press charges for robbery? For robbery. So, because you were holding your bag when you're here, he came and ripped it from you, and then he ripped the wallet from you from what the witnesses are telling me. So, he's using force to deprive you of your property.
I know.
But that's a decision that you have to make.
I can't figure it out. Because he took my stuff, and all I wanted was to get something to eat. That's why I was at Subway for so long.
So how did this argument start? Just over using money to get food? Like, what made him so angry?
He logged into his phone and saw that I noticed that he took my money. Like, he's been taking my money and then saying that I'm not doing anything.
So you guys get here. And
I walked here with him.
yeah.
I went to get something to eat.
At what point did he get so angry?
Literally, like, he came out from Subway and I was over here and he's like, why are you using the phone? Because I asked her, can I use your phone please? Because he kept saying, don't log in. Don't log off of my stuff. Like, don't be looking at my stuff. And I was like, I'm just hungry. Like, I want something to eat. And
You had his phone at that time to get...
yeah, because I don't have my stuff.
Right.
Like, I don't have my phone.
Right.
I don't have my car.
And then you guys go over there.
He kept coming back and saying, get the fuck out. Like, come on. And he already had my wallet. And I was like, give me my stuff.
So he had your wallet. How'd he get your wallet?
He snatched it from right here. He just
Were you
asked
holding
for
it?
no. My ID was here. His ID was here. He said, give me my fucking ID. So I slapped the shit out of you. And I was just like, okay.
So he said, give me my fucking ID before I slap the shit out of you? Okay.
yeah. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
so I couldn't take it out. And I give him his. And he just like took this whole thing and then just went off to the back building and went over there and then stormed back. And like we all saw him coming back like on a mission. And he was like, let's fucking go. And I was like, I don't want to go with you. Just give me my stuff back and I'll just stay here. He's like, you don't fucking pay for anything. You don't have any money. Like, I need my fucking $40.
But when he hit you in the head, was that over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were like in the staircase. And he was like, let's go. And I was like, I don't want to go with you. Like, I just want to eat some food.
Okay. Alright. So, like I said, you had your belongings in your possession. You didn't. To me, it sounds like you didn't want him to have your wallet or your bag. So, it is up to you if you want to press charges for robbery.
I'm just scared because he knows where I live. Like, he knows everything.
So
Like,
it's domestic. So what's going to happen is he's going to have a no contact order, which means he can't call, he can't meet with you, he can't go to where you work, where your family lives. If he does, he automatically goes to jail. So you'll have that layer of protection. So if you're in fear of what he might do, there is court proceedings that prevent him from coming back to see you. So it's up to you if you want to press charge for robbery. He is going for the domestic violence battery because he has to go.
Yeah, because my ear is like, it's so freaking ringing. The statement thing is just like making me nervous because like my daughter's dad is just like this, like.
Oh, okay. So
The statements, the everything just.
I know. For this, all you have to say is like, I didn't give him permission to take my stuff from my person. I want to press charges. That's all you have to say.
That's what I'm saying. You got one of those keys. Sometimes they call and they try to send somebody pictures.
What was that? I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I have my stuff.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a case number. If you change your mind, you can always let us know. Okay?
Do I have time? Like, I feel so pretty.
So at this point, he's gonna go for the battered domestic violence. So what I would recommend. What was that?
I wanted to go for that.
Yeah. So if you decide to change your mind, press charge for robbery, meet with the state attorney's office and let them know about that. I'll document it in my report so they're aware of it as well. Okay? All right. They're going to take care of you. I'm going to get you a case number.
The responding officer receives a grade of A-. He correctly applied the mandatory arrest statute, built a multi-source probable cause record, and delivered accurate no-contact order advisements to the victim. He identified robbery by sudden snatching independently and above-average legal recognition given the chaos of the scene, and preserved it for state attorney review. The grade falls short of A because the voluntary contact phase ran longer than necessary once probable cause had been established, and door damage was not documented on camera. The suspect receives a grade of F. 3 separate criminal statutes were violated in a single sequence: domestic battery, criminal trespass, and robbery by sudden snatching. Each is independently chargeable. He made materially false statements to law enforcement, denied all physical contact in direct contradiction of multiple corroborating eyewitness accounts, and attempted to substitute a financial grievance narrative for a criminal assault. That narrative collapsed against the weight of independent witness testimony collected before the suspect ever opened his mouth. The victim receives a grade of B. She took effective, protective action by seeking safety in a public commercial location, cooperated fully with law enforcement, and provided a consistent, detailed account under significant distress. The grade reflects one consequential decision. Declining the robbery charge removes a significant layer of legal accountability and reduced the suspect's sentencing exposure. Robbery by sudden snatching carries substantially higher penalties than domestic battery alone. The charging decision, once declined at scene, is difficult to reverse. 3 lessons emerge from this incident. First, mandatory arrest statutes exist precisely because victim cooperation cannot be the foundation of prosecution. In coercive control relationships, when a suspect controls a victim's housing, finances, and communication, expecting the victim to drive the arrest decision is a structural failure that mandatory arrest laws were designed to correct. Second, a single incident can generate multiple independent charges. Officers who recognize only the primary offense and miss trespass, robbery, or criminal mischief leave the record incomplete. Incomplete records narrow the state attorney's charging options and reduce both accountability and victim safety protections downstream. Third, the voluntary contact phase is a tool, not a delay. Allowing a suspect to commit to a provably false narrative on camera before arrest creates powerful impeachment material for trial. Used deliberately, it strengthens the prosecution's case. Used carelessly, it becomes a liability window. If the suspect uses that time to flee or destroy evidence, let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic that you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out our second channel, Audit the Court, for even more police interaction and courtroom content.